Today, I'm going to show you how to use underglazes to paint a bisque-fired, you can hear that it's been bisque-fired by the ping pot. This one was made using white clay, but if you're using like an iron clay and you still want to have that white like canvas background, you can do that by just painting a white underglaze like this on it. So don't feel like, oh, I have to use the white clay. I know it can be really difficult to get used to for some people. So I started by painting with the electric blue underglaze, just an outline of what I was going to paint, this big bird, small bird situation. I am going to start with a lighter color first, and I'm going to build on top. So I'm going to do this in two different ways to kind of show you what's possible. On the smaller bird, I'm actually going to paint a background of underglaze. This is not a color they sell at Amico, but it is one that I mix myself. So you can see I have like a plastic bottle, and I mixed underglaze with white underglaze with turquoise underglaze to create this color. And I do that because I just want a lighter color, and I'm going to build that darker color on top, which is really how you want to work with underglaze. You want to start lighter, work darker on top. All right. Where the head is, I think I'm just gonna build in a little bit darker head. Sometimes they get a little dried out, so remember with your underglaze, first of all, you should always shake the bottle, but make sure the lid is on. I've made that mistake. And then also, want to make sure that if it starts getting dried out on you, add just a little bit of water. Okay, so I've got the lighter color started. Now, I'm going to show you another kind of underglaze. This is underglaze transfer pattern. So they sell underglaze patterns like this one. You know, it has like a nice uniform pattern, almost like wallpaper. But they sell that at the one I just showed you from Blick Art Supply, but also Plum Island Transfers has great ones. Clay King has transfers. A lot of different clay distributors have transfer patterns, underglaze transfer patterns that I really like. I did make my own, and in a future video I'll show you how to do that. It's basically underglaze, which is silk screened onto rice paper, or this case I use mulberry paper, and I can cut out different shapes and then transfer them on. So the way they transfer on is a little bit like temporary tattoo. I'm going to first figure out where I'm going with it, and then where I want it placed, and then I'm going to use a little bit of water on top, and I'm going to use a rib to make sure it is transferred. So I'm just using a little bit of pressure. The big thing is to make sure it goes ink side down, which seems like obvious, but it can sometimes cause problems. You can see that there's still some fibers attached. Don't worry about that. That will burn off in the kiln. Okay, so that's one side. On the other side, I'm gonna put this other one, and I'm just gonna do them kind of two different ways. So again, I'm just gonna make sure I'm putting it where I want it to be. Kind of hard to tell. It's a little upside down for me, but we'll go for it. And again, I'm using a really damp sponge. So underglaze is interesting. It's a ceramic paint, and these days the colors are encapsulated. Some of them, like the bright red, the intense yellow, those colors, they really stay that color. And that's what I love about these. Also, the Amico velvet underglazes that I like to use, those are like thicker. Oh, that's nice. They're thicker, and so you have to use less coats. All right, so that's the start of my pattern. I'm gonna get out a brush, and I'm going to outline this. And what I do is I'm gonna work in about colors of layers and colors of 3, starting with the lightest and building on top. And the reason I do that is this cobalt blue underglaze that I do love, the electric blue, it is really strong, and it can overpower lighter colors, make them disappear completely sometimes, but also maybe mute them a lot. And I don't really want muted color. I want it to be strong. So I'm gonna really go for it in the way I know is safest, and I'm going to just kind of add a kind of a looping pattern here, a little scalloped edge, just by wiggling my brush. I'm going to start with lighter colors and build on top. And that's usually the way I like to work. I've been working with Underglaze for a really long time, and these are just tricks that I generally show my students in the classroom, but I feel like it's good to maybe have some of these videos out for everybody. Okay, so Underglaze can be mixed, and in this case I used a real orange and then this beautiful blood orange to create a different kind of an orange. So somewhere in between. And sometimes you don't get exactly the color you want, and you just have to mix it just like paint to get the color you do want. Okay, so for Mama Bird here, I think I'm gonna add some color in to that center and paint within. So the Underglaze pattern could be used standalone, but I like painting into it. That's kind of my thing. I like adding more. All right, now I'm going to use maybe turquoise, a darker turquoise, not the lighter one that I mixed, but this one in full strength. And I like the way the Underglaze pattern kind of gives me a template. I could paint it, I'm sure it would be hard, it would take forever. So I designed it once, and then I can make a silk screen and repeat it all the time. A little bit faster than just sitting there and painting it. Okay, now in the background here, just like Baby Bird, I'm gonna bring in this lighter color of turquoise mixed with white. So I'm just gonna build it through. Where it kind of overlapped, it's still gonna come through. It's just really strong pigment. All right. And then I'm gonna build on top. So how many layers, that's a big question that people always ask, like how many layers can I do? I think you can do safely 3 good layers. It depends on how opaque you want it or not want it. And it works pretty well that way. Anytime I get a little, you know, too thick with the Underglaze, I can run into some problems, and it happens a lot. To some of my students, they get over ambitious with how many layers they can add on, and they can end up having a problem with that. And just really encourage you to maybe try to stick with, you know, 3. And this is not the only way that you can work with Underglaze. And in future videos, I'll show you a variety of different ways that you can work with it. Maybe next week I'll show a video on sgraffito. Okay, now I'm gonna take out this blood orange color that I really like. It's stronger than that pale orange, and I'm gonna bring that out. So again, I'm working in like several coats that kind of make it a richer surface. Now, in the background around the bird, I'm going to probably repeat the pattern that I used here. I love Underglaze. I think for me it was a way to be able to paint on the surface, which has only grown with the way that the products have improved, you know, in the past 20-something years. I mean, it really has improved greatly. I'm gonna add this bright orange here. As you can see, it's just gonna kind of bring that to life. Now that dark color is still gonna come through. It's, even if I go over it just a little bit, it's such a strong pigment, that blue. And I really count on that actually doing that for me. Because what with coffee, maybe my hands aren't as steady as they could be. Okay, the legs I forgot about. Let's come back in and get some bird legs here. Okay, so this is gonna be something I'm not completely done with, that I'm gonna work into with some more. But I just wanna show in the background what happens when I add like maybe some of this pattern in. So I just roughly will keep cutting it. To me, it's a lot like working with fabric. You know, it has a pattern on it. Okay, let's take a look here. It has a pattern on it, and it feels like pattern paper, and it's just such, I don't know, it's such a interesting, different, new way to work with clay. And I think you can work with it in other ways too, and I'll try to hit on all of those in the future. For now, let's try to just do it this way. So after I finish this entire pot, I will need to bisque fire it again, and then I will use a clear glaze on it. You can see images on what that looks like on my social media accounts. Okay, let's take a look. Peek it back and just make sure it transferred, just like a temporary tattoo. And you can see that that's going to tie together here, even if I make this pattern look a little bit different. Even if I just use all, you know, turquoise in that background, you can see that starts to come together. And when it's glazed, you're not going to see some of these little breaks. It's just going to look like beautiful glazed ceramics. Okay, that's it for today. How to use underglaze on bisqueware.